Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central, and here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another fine episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host, and I want to thank you for taking the time to join with me and my guest as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. Now, every once in a while you meet a certain somebody, a special person who brings a lot to the table, and you say, gosh, I wish I could be like him or her, or I wish I could do this or that, or I wish I had that talent set, or I wish I had really the strength to do all these different things. And then you meet somebody who does all those things and then more, and that's the person I'd like to introduce to you today. Perhaps you've met her around town, or perhaps you're completely unaware of our newest star reporter for the Foxborough Reporter and a volunteer here at Foxborough Cable Access who's helping get my life organized, scheduling guests on the show, JuriLove. Juri, thank you so much for taking the time to come out here and share your story here with everybody on Foxborough Central.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, you've been on the show before.
Yes.
And at some point between takes, we might even get a chance to meet your kids as they come and go. So we're going to have a great conversation, and we'll just let happen what happens. Is that fair enough?
Yes.
This is going to be a powerful show. This is not going to be a show where we just talk about an event. We're really going to talk about you, the person, and how you came to be sitting here. And it's a path. It's not the most comfortable path, but it's a path, if you'll allow the entire story to come out, folks, of inspiration and power, if you ask me. That's the way I see it. Fair enough?
Yes.
Shall we begin?
You. Yes.
So you are right now resume building.
Yes.
You are a reporter with The Reporter.
Yes.
And you appear in the Fox Reporter. You write some really interesting stories.
Yes. So I am very humbled and then fortunate to be a reporter for the Foxborough Reporter, and I wrote some copies. This is one of the articles that I wrote of March for Our Lives, and then International Police Exchange story was on the cover. And then also I wrote a story about this mother, Tiffany, and who had premature babies. And I've been covering a lot of different stuff, different topics around Foxborough. And then I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. I've never thought about I'll be writing.
I was going to say, you weren't a reporter when you started doing this. You started doing some interest type of stories, and it's sort of, the path has kind of gone down that way.
Well, I never really imagined, to be honest, to be a reporter. I've never studied journalism, to be honest. But what happened was I was on the Foxborough Reporter with my son, Jaden, who sang the national anthem at the Boston City Hall Plaza.
Yes.
And then my wonderful reporter, now is my boss, Rick Foster, recommended me to his boss at the Sun Chronicle to see if I can be a reporter. And I never imagined, but I think my nickname being a goddess of connection, and he saw me being very connected to a lot of people, that he gave me a shot, and I'm very grateful because I am absolutely in love with this, my new avenue.
Really?
I am so in love. To meet so many inspirational people, and then to get to tell their stories, and then basically to get the juice out of their lives, and then just tell the truth. And
well, then, and of course, Jeff Peterson is the boss that you're alluding to, and Jeff, of course, gave me also an opportunity here back in the day to be a columnist for The Reporter. So we're I won't say peers, because you're a much better writer than I am, but we both enjoy doing this. And it's also important because the local press needs to have voices, needs to have stories told. And that's the key piece of having a local press, is that there has to be something to tell. And it's interesting to say the goddess of connections, because you definitely find some really interesting people to speak about. But you do so much more than that. You also help me out here with Foxborough Central. If perhaps you've been noticing, folks, that I've had a pretty interesting array of guests these last few months, part of that's because Juri's jumped on board and is join my team of happy volunteers here and helping schedule people in and bringing some folks who may not have been in my world onto the radar and bringing them here to the table. So we really are appreciative of all the work you've been doing here at Cable Access, particularly helping me with Foxborough Central. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Well, someday she'll be taking this seat because she does this better than I do, but we're going to go with this right now. So, Juri, in addition to being a newspaper reporter and a volunteer at Foxborough Cable Access, you also are an actress and a mom, and your kids are actors and actresses, and you also do lessons and you play piano and you do so much. So let's just give me a 2-minute resume build. Just, hi, we met at the restaurant. How are you doing? My name is Bob. I'm a host of a TV show. You are Juri, and you are?
Okay, so my name is JuriLove, and I'm from Japan, and I came to America in 1998. I'm a pianist, I'm a teacher, and I'm a reporter, and then I'm a Rotarian for the Foxborough Rotary Club, community chair, and I am a survivor of the abuse, and also I am a former president and founder of a nonprofit organization that I started when I was 26 called Genuine Voices, which we taught music to juvenile offenders in a detention program in Boston. I got an award from Boston Celtics called Heroes Among Us in 2013. So,
I think it was, yes. And I've read your newspaper. And by the way, she has a phenomenal resume. In fact, when you first introduced yourself to me, I don't know if you remember this, but you felt like you sent me your resume. I'm thinking this, and going, oh my goodness, who is this person? And then when I met you, I was like, wow, absolutely. And she, in addition to that, you also, have 2 very active kids, and you take them to all of the sporting events.
Yes.
You're a chauffeur. And in fact, today you're sharing that Jaden was at an casting call
today in Quincy.
And I've seen your son's beautiful picture on the so he has real jobs, and this is amazing.
Yes.
In addition to that, you're with me over at the regional school, charter school, doing career days. So you are just a giver. And you mentioned something in there, an abuse survivor, and that's really the focal point of today's program. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and it's also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And Juri is not only a great volunteer and a phenomenal talent and nice person all around, but she is an abuse survivor. And it was touched upon in a recent Foxborough Reporter's story where you shared your story. But there's much more to be told, and I love talking to people. So if you're comfortable with it, we'd love to share, because the only way that we can learn is through talking and hearing and listening. And so I would love to listen to your story. Yes,
definitely. So just for instance, this morning at 9 a.m., I was in the subcommittee of the international committee from Foxborough called Human Trafficking, Prevention of Human Trafficking. We're kind of coming up with a mission statement and stuff. But I'm also signed up for district peace and conflict resolution, solution, and transformation committee in the district from July, which is I'm very excited about. Okay. There's so many things to talk about in this topic, and I'm very passionate about this because...
Well, let's get started with your volunteers. You made a decision to deal with and we can talk about the abuse itself, but to take that step back, how do you deal with it, with the PTSD, with the post-traumatic stress syndrome? Volunteerism is your solution. So, and I'm probably glossing it over or painting it with too broad of a brush, but to me, you're such a wonderful volunteer.
Oh, thank you.
But there's a drive there.
Right. So when I was basically between age 8 to 13, I was really abused from my father, sexually, mentally, verbally, physically, and like all the things that you can imagine that went wrong. And basically, I suffered from the PTSD since then, but most of my adulthood say 20s, 30s, I really suffered from PTSD. But when I was a teenager, what happened was my parents were divorced when I was 8. And then after my mother left, I was living with my father. And then, what happened was he kind of shifted his love towards my mother, towards me, and then started to molest me and then just sexually mess with me.
But that was a sickness. It wasn't a love. It was significantly wrong.
Right.
And you were the victim in that situation. But
Yeah.
at 8 years old, what can you do?
Yeah. So when I was 13, I just thought I would maybe die, like from the physical abuse, and then I just couldn't tolerate more of the sexual abuse, so I decided to escape from him. So I had a secret meeting with my mother, who was living in a different town, different prefecture. And then what happened was she was living with her husband, and then when I moved in, and when I first told my mother about the sexual abuse, she didn't believe me. And later on in my life, I started counseling for like about 6 years, and my counselor told me 80% of mothers, they don't believe the sexual abuse that happened to their child, especially by the sexual partner of them.
Right.
So I guess my mother was 80% normal, but it was just so traumatizing.
But 100% wrong.
Yeah, so what happened was when I was 15, I tried to commit suicide. I tried to kill myself, and then I was cutting my wrist with a knife, and then she happened to found me doing that. And then I was just down the negative path, and then I had no hope, and then I just really didn't want to do anything. Motivational stuff. And then I was in high school, and I was failing high school. I was skipping high school, and then I was just really, like, I got 0 on my math test. I was just doing so bad at school, and then I just didn't think I would graduate, and I wanted to drop off high school. I just didn't want to continue.
Which is such an amazing thing, because you're so smart, and you're so
Thank you.
so able to put things together and make the connections. So it must have been so frustrating to not be believed, and the cry for help in all these different ways, getting bad grades, when clearly you can get perfect grades if you wanted to. That's a cry for help. And so all these ways that your need to have people believe you and hear you was manifesting itself, it seemed like nobody was listening.
Yeah, but so just to go back to your question about volunteerism, when I was failing in high school, my friend at the time said, "Juri, you should volunteer." So I said, okay, and then I went to this overnight camp with disabled people that I was helping, and then that just changed my life.
This was in Japan?
In Japan,
Okay.
when I was 17. And then this is when I was failing high school. And then it was like a winter, spring break. And then that 2 days basically changed my life completely. What happened was this man who was on a wheelchair, and then he had this hiragana chart, the Japanese character chart, and he was like struggling to point out like which letter, and then he pointed out like some word to describe what he wanted to eat. So I tried to feed him, and after that he said, basically last month was hard. That took him like 30 minutes to tell me with the letters. And then I said, oh, okay. And then he said, my mother died. And I'm like, okay, I just met you, so I don't know the history. So, but the next sentence that he pointed really changed my life, which he said it was my fault. And I just, realized how, despite my trauma, how ungrateful I was, having full body, full potential. I was born with no disability, and just the fact that I can do all the things, but my brain was blocking all the potentials and possibilities, and then nobody was saying no, but myself. Like, I was just really depressed, and then I just didn't have hope. Imagine what you've been through, and then it's just really difficult. But the volunteerism to me is just so important. In fact, that when I started the nonprofit organization, I wasn't getting paid, so I was dedicating maybe 60, 80 hours a week, and then being like very like less payment, and then I started in 2001. When I was 26, I formed a nonprofit organization, and throughout 12 years of being a president and founder, I created a volunteer opportunity and internship opportunity to over like hundreds of young people, and then they have. I'm still in touch with many of the volunteers.
Well, I was going to say, because that was, and I'd love to talk about that more.
Yeah.
But that was in America.
Yes.
So you came to America. You skipped over a huge 5-year chunk of your life. So you're volunteering in Japan.
Right.
And by the way, I'm speaking with JuriLove, with the Foxboro Reporter, with Foxboro Cable Access. Musician, extraordinary woman, survivor of childhood sexual abuse. So we are now age 17. You've done this volunteer opportunity. What happened the next day after this weekend?
So I'm sorry. Yes. What happened was I really kind of analyzed myself, and then like saw myself as not spoiled brat or like just ungrateful human being. And then I just decided, despite the trauma or anything, I should definitely say no. I should never say I can't do it. So that's my philosophy till this day. Thanks to that person that I helped, or maybe he helped me. But
that's usually the way it is with volunteering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we all volunteer for certain things, and there's always a reason why we volunteer.
Yes.
There's always a give, and it's not monetary usually.
Yes.
Why do we do this program? I get to meet wonderful people, and I get to fulfill that piece of what I do. But with your story, that volunteer opportunity that changed your life.
Yes.
That wasn't the cure, though. You still had to go out there, and you had to come to this self-realization.
Yes.
And then you had to make that decision, because you were a victim of some horrendous abuse.
Yes.
And also not being believed. I mean, that's just, there's so much.
Yes.
And yet you took that energy,
right,
and you did good with it.
Yeah, so what happened in Japan, after that experience, I decided to audition for modeling, which I passed. So I started to model in Tokyo for fashion magazines, stuff, which I absolutely loved. And then I applied for exchange student program through City, and I got granted. It was like a lot of competition. And then I was also moved up to kind of like a Japanese national kind of program where a lot of students who were selected by different towns came to Tokyo, and then trained like 3 days training. And then after that, I was greeted by a Japanese crown prince and then crown princess at the emperor's palace. I still remember the orange juice taste. Wow. It was so amazing. The best orange juice ever at the emperor's palace when I was 18. But because I was sent by government endorsed program, I had to do a lot. While I was in America, in Washington State for the 2 weeks, and also when I went back to Japan, I had to do a lot of give back to the city. So I've done a lot of interesting things. Like for instance, Japanese government had this ODA that dedicated for the Southeastern Asian countries, bringing the educator to Japan as part of kind of neutralizing, kind of making the peace between them because of the World War II.
Yes.
But the Korea was not involved in the program, but they decided to bring Korea to the program. So I was actually a youth panel between the Korean teachers who got invited from Japanese government, and I was representative of youth. So we went to the camp together, and then basically a conflict solution that a lot of Korean teachers are biased against, the colonization of their country from Japan. So
for folks who don't know, that's still a huge issue today.
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
That's a very upfront and internationally important opportunity that you had, and you're on the front line of relations.
Yeah, so a lot of teachers said, I thought Japanese people are evil, but look at me, like I'm just like a normal person. And since I was 18, 19, I was involved with those kind of projects. But I really loved America, so I came back to American high school in Washington State when I was 18. So you came across,
you were part of the foreign exchange.
2 weeks.
And you were here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You loved it over here.
Yeah.
So then when you went back to Japan, you worked hard to get the opportunity to come back over?
So what happened was during the senior year high school, I graduated. I got like
I'm
really
worn
high
out.
score.
We haven't even gotten to graduation of high school, and I'm worn out by
Yes.
you.
So,
Wow.
but anyways, I kind of got really high scores on my every subject, so that I combined 2 semesters in one, so that I can graduate.
And you know I have to say this. You know I got to say,
Yes.
which just goes again towards you're getting the zeros.
Yes, on my math.
was a scream
Yes.
for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you had to actually create your own cure.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
How brave.
Thank you. So after that, I came to America for 6 months, but then I had some amazing time in America. Then I went back to Japan, and the day that I went back to Japan, my mom sent my sister and then said I cannot stay at her house because I'm 18 already. So I became homeless completely. So I went through 3 good weeks of being homeless, and I was staying at park, like 24 hours restaurant, clubbing, like, maybe, visiting my friends. It was miserable. I was just like, I don't know, there was no tears left. I was just like miserable.
Yes.
And all my friends went in college and, got cars and just like living life, and I would just at park and just be miserable. And I just couldn't, I could have gone like such a wrong path and then doing drugs or whatever, but
Sure.
I just decided to.
It would have been so easy.
Yeah, I just decided to find a job at the kind of a resort hotel where near Mount Fuji, beautiful place. And then I was there about a month, working from like 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. and then serving people, cooking, and then cleaning and like everything. So I can get fed and have roof above my head,
Sure.
and didn't have to worry.
It was a solution
Yeah.
to the immediate problem of homelessness.
Yeah, definitely. But it was the best solution. I've learned so much about cooking and then cleaning, and I'm very good at
We'll
cooking.
have you on here at a future program on our cooking. You know how I love to have the cooking, get Studio K going. So
I was feeding 30 people Japanese, French fusion cuisine from like 3 p.m. like prep cooking all the way till 7 p.m. and then fed people and then clean everything, and I learned so much and I loved it. But I came to Tokyo with the money that I saved from this resort hotel job, and then after that I started commission job by selling some product like random people, and then I got really sick when I was living in an apartment. So I got my first apartment when I was 19. I just turned 19.
are we still in Japan?
What?
Are we still in Japan here?
Yes. I'm sorry.
You're getting sick in Japan. Oh my goodness.
So I went back to Japan, and then I got kicked out, and I was
We're glad
homeless.
you're here, by the way.
What?
We're glad you're here, by the way.
Thank you. I'm in love with America. But so what happened was when I was 19, doing the commission job, which was really hard, and then I had a trainee underneath me who are older than me, way older than me, and then I started to feel pressure of making money so much,
Yes.
like selling and like I just started to feel like kind of sick in my gut, and then just what happened was I got really sick.
The worst part about sales is that, given that it's commission based, if you get ill, there's no safety net.
Yeah, that's
there's
true.
And I'm not sure exactly how it works in
Right.
Japan, but there's just no safety net, and so
Right.
you're really at risk.
Yeah, and then
And then you feel the pressure, of course,
yes,
which doesn't help.
absolutely. And I'm glad I had that experience when I was 19, because I learned a tremendous amount of responsibility and just appreciation of money, and then working and then living. But anyways, I got sick at my apartment. I think it was food poison or something, and I just realized that I would so regret if I would die today, if I didn't come back to America, if I don't go back to America and then pursue music. So that's when I switched my job to work at the 5-star hotel in Tokyo. So I was working at the 5-star hotel as a laundry service, telephone operator for about 1,000 guests. Every day I pick the phone and then, send the delivery person to pick up the laundry and then return it to their room every day. So that was my job. And I saved about $30,000 by myself between age 19 and 21. And then I got scholarship to come to Berkeley while I was working there in Tokyo.
Berkeley School of Music.
Berkeley College of
Boston.
Music. Yeah, Berkeley College of Music. So I did the audition in Tokyo, but because they had a world tour scholarship. Then what happened was I came to America in 1998 by myself with the money that I saved and earned. And I was a very different student when I came here because knowing that all the money that I earned is really hardworking, like money that I saved nobody else. So I did the math this first day, how much dollars that I was spending per minute. So it was like $3 per minute. So I was like, there's no way that I would waste this class or time. So I went every office hours and every concert I participated and everything. So I was very proud of myself and doing music at Berkeley College of Music with all the musicians. So it was kind of a long talk.
I love music. I love music. I love your talent. And at the talent show, you and your son played, and it was amazing.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
Thank you
so
much.
We're here with JuriLove, who is an abuse survivor, and we're here to talk about you and your life, but also to promote the real issue, which is Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is April, and also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So we're so close to running out of time, Juri. If there's a message that you could give to somebody who may be watching who is currently suffering from abuse or maybe has recently gotten out of that situation but still is not in a good place and still is trying to figure out what the next step is, what would that message be?
So PTSD that I was diagnosed after I came to America, it's really hard to get rid of, basically. It kind of stays in your brain. And
well, some would argue you never get rid of it. It's how you deal with it and how you accommodate it.
But I think part of it is I wish that somebody came to my life and then told me earlier in my life that it is what it is that's what happened, and just accept it. But instead of fighting, why did that happen? Like, why am I like this, or why am I depressed?
Well,
I think
it happens, unfortunately, it happens a lot. And look at the USA Gymnastics program.
Yes.
Look at the Bill Cosby trial going on. It's not unique, but it is unique to each individual, and it's so traumatizing, I would imagine, to every individual person that also is believed, because just the very nature of abuse is you're made to feel as though if you tell, you're a bad person, or this is the normal way things are supposed to be. And that's how abusers are able to keep that secret, keep that abuse happening. And to break free of that, that's such a strong thing, and not everybody can do that. So how do we help? How do we talk to people about this?
I think most important thing is awareness, and then talk about it. So more people who come out or support the victims and then believe in their stories is obviously better. I think a lot of times when I talk about the sexual abuse and my experience, especially parents, we don't want that to be heard. My child is too young. I'm like, no, I'm 8. I was 8. I was like, 13. Like, nobody told me this is wrong. Nobody told me this is a crime.
You grew up thinking it was maybe not right, but it was normal, and something didn't feel right.
No.
But
it's
at
horrifying.
8 years old, what can you do? I mean, that's a terrible thing.
No, I just know that in America there are so many advocacy groups, and then police, and a lot of people who are willing to help, but not necessarily that everybody has resources, and everybody has knowledge about how can they stand up for themselves, and then how can we help them, the victim. And it's so hard as a victim of abuse to, for instance, just an example, 20 years ago, I could not say a word of father without breaking down to tears. And then I'm just so, I think in a way my counselor helped me. I've been to counseling for 6 years.
Okay.
So I think finding a right counselor is very important. And then just to get objective opinion about how your brain works when PTSD happens, and the knowledge is very powerful, and the support, the people, like friends who, like, just to make sure you consciously surround yourself with inspirational friends, and friends who are supportive of whatever happens, and like non-judgmental friends.
Right.
And I think that's so important to have.
Well, here in Foxborough, of course, we suffered our own institutional abuse with the Sheehan trials and tribulations that happened, and so many brave people came out and called attention to it. And now we have our Darkness to Light program, which is a mandate for anybody who volunteers with children here in Foxborough, and it's been introduced at the state level, and you see more and more communities, really awakening to the fact that there are bad people everywhere, and people who want to abuse and have the opportunity to get in a position of power will use that power for
Absolutely.
bad. And such good credit to those individuals who stood up this past decade and really brought attention, and the Foxborough Police Department for investigating, and our Board of Selectmen for implementing, and then for the volunteers who are putting forth the Darkness Light in the local YMCA. But it still comes down to individuals who are victimized needing to have that opportunity or that encouragement or the chance to be able to seek that help. So we're going to put some addresses of organizations that can be reached out to at the end of this program. But JuriLove, it's so good of you to come in and share your story, and I'd like you to give the last word, and we're so out of time, and to really give a last word of encouragement, hope, and really, what do we want to say to folks out there who might be suffering from abuse, or who have recently gotten out of an abusive relationship or an abusive situation? What can we tell them?
Well, I just want to say that no matter what happens in your life, your soul is so different than your parent or the abusers. Your soul is completely pure and beautiful no matter what happens to you. And it is what happened, and it is nothing that you can do. Earlier, faster, you can accept what it is. It's hard, but it's better because you have so much future that you can control. The past you cannot control, but the future absolutely you can control. So just have positive attitude, and it's not easy. But I'm here to encourage people, and if people want to reach out to me, they can. And I'm working on my book called A Gift from Adversity.
A book, and we look forward to hearing more about that and having you back on the show when that comes to pass. So Juri's contact information is also on the screen. Juri, thank you so much for not only being on the program, but also being my friend and sharing your story and your strength. For those of you out there who want to hear more, you can reach out to Juri. Also, check us out at www.fcatv.org and find the link back to this program if you need to get any of this information again. We're going to leave you with some web addresses and some phone numbers for where you can seek help if you're currently in a situation where you need that type of support. And all I can say, Juri, thank you for your strength. And for those of you who might be in this situation, be strong, and let's hope that you can get that help. Until we talk again, thank you so much for being my guest, Juri, and for being here with us here in Foxborough Central. Take care, everybody.